Hey guys, this is Uboat for Grinder School, and today I'm going to open up 5 PLO Zoom on PokerStars, and I'm going to be playing live. And the reason why I'm going to play Zoom over the regular table is, I guess when I'm making videos, there's a lot more hands, there's a lot more action compared to when I'm playing ring games and I'm trying to show you guys some live play. It does take a while, and it does get a little bit boring on the viewer side. And what I'm going to do is I think maybe starting from now on, I'll try to grind quite a few hands on the ring tables. And what I'll do is, I think the best way to present that on the video is through hand histories, or was it video replays? And that's what I'll use for the ring games. And whereas for the live games, I think I'll be sticking to these Zoom tables. So today, I'm going to open up a 5 PLO, and the next time on the live play, I'll open up 10 PLO, 25 PLO, and maybe 50 PLO also, okay? So there's 241 players, which is plenty of players right now. So let's get started. Let's open it up, and let's set up the tables. So as you can see, we do have a decent card, but it's not suited. We prefer to have it suited, and we're not going to raise this, especially when we're out of position. So we're going to call. Well, definitely not folding this. We do have a chance to have a nice, rundown. And this is the hand that, everyone raised 3x at the cutoff and button. I'm going to check back. And 40 cents, that's pretty big bet on this kind of dry flop. And if we had kings, maybe I might call. If we had something, some kind of draws, I would definitely call. I mean, we do have a backdoor straight draw, but I'm going to fold this hand. Queens are not exactly that great. I mean, we could call and float, but we don't have position. So that's the reason why we're going to fold that hand. And since we're playing Zoom, we will be playing fairly tight when we are early position and from the blinds. When we're at the cutoff and especially at the button, I'll tend to open quite a bit, and we're going to try to steal the blinds. I know this is not the stake to really steal the blinds very much, so we'll be cautious on that one. We do have a decent card here, and what we're going to do is he's short stacked, right? So we're going to keep the pots small pre-flop, and we're going to try to play well post-flop, and that's a strategy that we're going to try to play at these micro stakes. What we're going to do is we're going to keep the pot small pre-flop, and we're going to try to outplay our opponents post-flop. And we are going to bet pretty close to pot. Actually, we're going to just pot it on this one. And the player at the button, he does have us covered. He's pretty deep. He could have a rundown, but we do have a nice top two pair, and we do have 10 and 7 for our gutter, and we hit our nuts. But the thing is, we don't exactly have the nuts. The queen 10 has the nuts, so it's a very draw heavy board. So we're gonna bet pretty big, and we're gonna fold to any re-raise on this one because we don't really have the nuts here. And on this one, Queen 10, I really think he has a Queen 10. No one's going to re-raise us on that one. But he could also have a 6-7. So you know what? Let's just get in and I'll show you guys what he has. Yep, Queen 10, see? So that's a hand I just want to show you guys. And this is what we're going to focus on. We don't want to make hero calls, as I proved on that example. I mean, I put him on Queen 10. He did have Queen 10. Very unlikely that he's going to have 6-7. So another really important thing to note on these stakes is don't do any hero calls. You'll lose money. They're betting for value. Otherwise, you're going to get stacked. Okay. We're going to definitely open up on this at early position. We do have jacks and suited to the ace. So we do have a chance to hit the nut flush, the set of jacks, maybe top pair. And this one, it's not all that, no, it's kind of semi-wet, but I don't think it really hits our opponent's range. So I'm going to bet about 20 cents. Because remember, these are microstakes pairs. They tend to play fairly straightforward. And I'm going to keep barreling because I really don't think it does hit our opponent's range. And at these six, remember that when people do call, they're calling with broadways. Then it could be calling with, well, you never know. If they're donks, they might be calling with, a trashy low set of cards. But, anytime when someone has more than a stack or like they're deep, they're playing very tight. I don't want to say tight aggressive, more like tight passive. So we can put them on the range, definitely, even at these stakes at 5 PLO. And hopefully we can win some pots and make up our stack that we lost on the, I think, was that the second hand? So again, our strategy is going to be, we're going to keep the pot small pre-flop. We're going to try to outplay them post-flop. And we're not going to make any hero calls, okay? Because we don't have any definite reads playing Zoom PLO. And we're definitely not making any hero calls. And that's one thing to note, even if you have, a mate straight, someone could have a better straight, like exactly what happened to me. So do not make hero calls at these lower stakes, even at higher stakes, unless you do have a read on the player. And that was a really good example, I think. And like I said, the nice thing about playing Zoom when making videos, there is a lot of action. And it's pretty interesting. We're going to fold this. I mean, the dangler doesn't really help us very much, so we're going to fold this hand. It may look like a pretty hand, but we're still fairly early position against under the guns range, who bet 3x or pot it. We don't really have a decent range against them. This one, if it was suited, I would definitely open up, but also the pair of nines doesn't really help us much. Remember at PLO, when your whole cards has some middle pair like 9, 9, 8, 8, 7, 7, even 6, 6, it's pretty worthless. And this hand that I'm going to definitely call against the small blind. And if he checks back, I'm going to bet out half pot. Usually half pot will take this pot down, so let's see what he does. And on those monochrome boards, when your head's up, don't be afraid, because if there's a flush draw there, there's 60% chance that someone may have a flush draw, but heads up, you can almost lead out on those boards, or if you get checked, you can bet out half pot, very small, and you can win. This one, we're going to definitely call. The thing about in the small blind, if I was on bun, I would definitely 3-bet this kind of hand. But what is it? When I'm out of position, I tend not to 3-bet so much because it's so awkward playing post flop. We do have a gutter and some overcard. I think he has aces. I'm not going to call this just with a gutter, so I'm going to fold. And remember, if we have just a gutter and nothing else to back it up, we're just trying to play target poker, and that's not a good way to play poker. For some people, this may seem like a good hand, but the 7 sucks. If this was like ace 8, 9, 7 with the suited aces, I would definitely call. But with the pair of 7s and there's a gap with the 8, I'm not going to call. I'm going to fold this. Oh, it says calls with one pair, top pair, all the way through. So we're going to call. We're going to set mine, but it's going to go multi-way. Even if we hit a set, it'll be tough, but we do have a 10, so we do have a chance of hitting the flop fairly hard. Having the 5 really sucks, though. We do have an open ender. We're going to bet 10. Oh, gee, I think that was a mistake. I should bet 14. It should have been a little bit bigger because it is a wet flop there, okay? But we did manage to take the pot down. So remember, one thing to really note when you're playing these, even at these stakes, get in the mode of betting correctly on wet boards and dry boards. Like on wet boards, you want to bet pretty close to pot size bet. And on dry boards, you want to bet maybe half to 2/3 pot size bet because you want to keep those the same, and you want to develop those kind of bet sizing so that as you move up the stakes, people won't be able to make reads based on your bet sizing. It's very important. It's something that really helped me. Um, Betting big on very wet boards and betting smallish, like half to 2/3 again on the dry boards, it really helps to kind of balance, not balance, it hides your cards. So even if you hit it hard, or even if you don't hit it very hard, if you bet big on the wet flops, no one's going to be able to put you on the range. No one's going to know what exactly you have, okay? So very important. Some things that I haven't mentioned in the video too much, but something that you do need to start practicing at these low stakes. I mean, this is the stakes where you want to develop those kind of skills. Whether it's, starting hands, reading the flop correctly. This one I'm going to fold. I mean, that's 6/8. It's just too gappy, although we do have suited aces. We're going to fold this hand. And he is a donk. He does look donkish, but we're going to fold that hand. We have too many 3 players in front of us. Was that the same player as the previous hand? And we do hit top pair, and I'm going to bet it's a wet board, so maybe 20 cents. Okay, when he called, I'm putting most players on a flush draw. And we're going to check back. Hopefully we have it. We don't. See, they're not going to fold any kind of flush. So another lesson is do not bluff because these players will tend to call with just a horrible hands. Like you saw, I mean, let's open that up. Okay, we're going to fold. Like you saw on this hand, he had a 6 high flush. I mean, but you should be folding that hand against any bet, but these players they think that's the nuts, and maybe if it was no limit, that would be the nuts, but in pot limit, that's definitely not the nuts. I got a lot of notes on these 4-bet pre-folds on flop on re-raise call. Okay, so we do have a decent hand at small blind. You know what? Let's raise for value here. Like I don't like to 3-bet, but we get 4-bet here. Jeez. We'll call. And let's see what he does. We're going to check back. 70 cents. We're going to fold. 3x. And there's nothing wrong with folding to 3-bets, especially on that one. I was out of position, but I did have a chance to. It's a wet board. We will bet close. And a bad hand where we got 3-bet, and we were out of position. It's okay to fold those hands. Don't feel bad. Don't feel that you're obliged to defend your small blind. Because after all, you're out of position. I think even for me too, with the hands that I had. I mean, the thing is I had that pair of jacks and I was suited to the ace. I did have a chance to hit set and maybe the the nut flush and maybe possibly trying to, okay, I have position 8, 9. I don't think they really have it here. 10. So about 2/3 pot. And that's just taking advantage of position, even at these micro stakes. We're getting fairly decent hands, but we're getting re-raised quite a bit. And as you notice, we're seeing these deep stacker. We saw some people with like, $15, $20. And this is a very dry board, and we're gonna bet maybe like 20 cents here, okay? So I don't think it really hit its range. He could have queens, but I really doubt it. And the low cards, there's no way he's gonna have low cards to call. More, that's what we're practicing right now, even at these low stakes. When you see the flop, assess the flop, assess whether it's wet or dry, and then assess whether it's going to hit the range or not. And whether it hits your hand or not doesn't really matter, because remember, we're trying to play the players, okay? And even at these Zoom tables, it's possible to do. So King 3, 7, 8, that's the junky hand. We're gonna just fold right away. Even if I had suited today's, I think I would have folded that hand too. Some people think this is a really pretty card because we got the pair, we have ace and king, but it's not very good. The pair of 3 is worthless, and ace king, I mean, what are you going to hit? Just maybe top pair, maybe at the best top 2 pair. So it's not very good. This junky hand at the small blind. This hand, no, we're not going to call. It's just too trashy. I mean, it was so in the borderline. If it was folded to me, I think it's a borderline of folding or raising to steal the blind. Jack, see, this again, this is not a very good card. Some of you may think, wow, you got jacks suited to jacks. It's like the 4th nut flush. Jack's not going to, I mean, you could possibly get top set, but, in PLO, there's so many draws out there on the flop, okay? Very unlikely that we'll be hitting the board hard with just pair of jacks. Oops. I don't know. I know me and Charles, CF the Natural, we've been playing quite a bit of PLO consistently. Like I started back in, early 2012, and I think Charles started in 2013. And if you are playing PLO, whether it's micro stakes or low stakes, just send us a message in our blogs. He raises, we're on the button, we're putting him on aces, but we do have position and we do have a chance of hitting. It's going to hit the flop part. We're going to call this one. Having aces sucks here. I'd rather have like jacks, but we're going to call because we do have a chance for the nut flush and the nut straight here, and we do have cards that's going to hit the flop hard. And that queen 6. And this is not a great flop. We're not going to lead out here because he could have aces. He could have us dominated. We do have position. No, I'm going to keep the pot small. And we're going to keep it small. Let's see what he does. We're going to call any bet that he has. 6 back. Oh, and that's something to note. So, let's see. 3 bets. Oops. No, I'm going to sit out. See, this is a nice thing about Zoom. You can sit out. So he 3 bet pre with 3 king 9 deuce double suited. Cut off. Not C bet F. Not F C bet. Something to really note. So when he 3 bets us next time, we know that we can put him on a really junkish hand. So I'm going to label him as green. Because 3 betting with those cards is just junky, okay? Okay, let's go back. Queen 8, 8, Jack, it may look pretty, but those 8s really suck. If that was like, say, maybe if one of those 8s was a 9 or even a 10, it'd be fantastic, but this sucks. Yeah, so again, I don't know where I stop rambling. Like, If you are playing Parliament High and you are a member of Grinder School, please drop me and Charles a line. Just say hi, or just say that. Tell us like which stakes you're playing, and if there's something special that you want to see on our videos, just let us know. Because there's two of us, and we are focusing on the micro stakes. I would be more than happy to make specific videos catered especially for you. Or if you have, we do have a nice card. We're going to call this one. We're not going to re-raise, but we're going to definitely call this. It could hit the flop very hard. It's fairly dry flop, but I'm going to check back, see what he does. Okay, you know what? Now we're never betting because he could have ace. Yeah, we're never betting on this kind of hard. We're just hoping that we got some showdown. No, he had us. And some people ask, well, should we take notes on that? Well, I don't think so. It wasn't really a special hand. I mean, 6, 10, 10, queen. I mean, it's pretty loose. I guess opening from under the gun. So we can say maybe opens. No, if that was suited, I would definitely open up, but that's not, so it's not very good. Opens loose. Loose EP. The reason why I'm making these notes is because I don't have a HUD like a poker tracker 4 cannot make a HUD for the MacBook, so which really sucks because it would be nice to have these pre-stat reads playing Zoom, but I guess we could do without it, especially at these stakes. I mean, if you were multi-tabling, say if I were to multi-table, say 4 tables of PLO Zoom, I would definitely need a HUD. It would really allow me to develop the reads a lot faster. Whereas, when I'm 1 or 2 tabling Zoom, I don't really need access to a HUD. But it would be nice to have one. I hope they do. Like I emailed them and they said that they have some kind of a security issues, like the Mac. Oh geez, this is not a great, not the best flop for us. But we're going to definitely bet up pretty big, maybe 25 cents. I'm going to say 27 cents. But horrible, it's a horrible flop here. We're going to definitely lead out trying to take the pot down. And if he re-raise, we're going to fold. We don't want to overplay our aces. So again, remember it was a wet board. We're going to bet pretty close to pot. Like normally, when I first started, I always used the pot, but now I tend to just go a little bit less, maybe like 80 to 90% pot size bet. This one we're going to fold 10 suck. We got nothing. This is the type of hand that's going to play really bad multi-way, and it's going to suck. But let's see what. I'm always curious when everyone goes all in. Someone has aces, and we're going to assume that he has aces. It's kind of fun watching these. I'm putting him on the aces, maybe a flush draw. He's probably thinking about whether he's going to call or not. If he re-raises, well, it's going to flip. Okay, that was the aces one. So you got to watch those people who limp re-raise. I mean, I don't think it's the best move, but it does happen quite a bit. It doesn't happen at, say, like mid stakes very much, but at these lower stakes and especially PLO tourneys, they do tend to limp raise with ace XX. And it's not good because sometimes some people will just call the limps and they're going to see multi-way like with like 4 to 5 other players with their aces, and they're going to have a very wet board where they're going to lose equity on their aces. Whereas if they raised aces, they could have took the pot down pre-flop. Yeah, so here's the guy who raised with junk, but we don't have a good hand to defend with, and we're out of position, so we're going to fold even if they're a whale, or not a whale, I guess a fish. A whale will be someone who has a lot of money and who keeps rebuying when they get stacked. And those are, most of the time, loose passive, but once in a while you get those really aggressive players, and those are the type of players I love to have on my right. We're gonna fold. I mean, this, even though we are on the button, remember position is everything, but we're gonna fold against this cutout because this one is gonna play nasty multi-way. And some of you may be thinking, well, when can I 3-bet? Well, at these stakes, 3-betting, I mean, there's some value in 3-betting when you have strong cards like, double suited aces or nice double suited rundowns or even sometimes single suited rundowns. But the problem with these micro stakes, whether it's 2, 5, 10, and maybe sometimes 25 PLO, is that everyone tends to call all 3-bets. So the purpose of 3-bets is to isolate a player so you can play heads up in position against them, but it won't happen too much. Do have a gutter, but we have 8s. I don't think I hit him too much. So we're gonna bet. Oh shoot, it should have been 6 cents. Shoot. Oh, well, at least we took it down. See, the thing was, it looked wet, but it's not. I mean, here, we'll go back to that hand. See, what is it? 5, 2, 6 suited to spade. It looks wet to a lot of players, but it's not, because it's not gonna hit this under the guns range. More likely he has broadways. And this one we're gonna definitely call against the button. We do have a card that's going to hit hard. It's a little bit gappy, which I don't like. The reason why I'm not going to lead, if I had 7 in there, I'm going to definitely lead out, but we just have a pair, and there's a flush draw out there, and it is semi-wet, so I'm not going to lead out on this board. The pot both ways against 2 players we're out of position. I'm going to fold this. We just have top pair. We do have quite a bit of equity here, but we do have to hit a 9. So we're going to fold, and we'll see what they have. So the board pairs, which means it doesn't really change much. I mean, if any of them had a set, it would be pretty good. Oh, what do we have? Do we have a 5 in there? No. Yeah. Maybe top 2 pair, or maybe over pair like queens. Hand that we're going to definitely try to steal the blind with. And as you can see, at these lower stakes, the micro stakes, people are not going to be defending their blind as much as they used to. Like when I first started playing PLO, micro stakes, people were calling quite a bit. And I think maybe, I don't know, maybe the fish improved. They're tending to fold quite a bit, but they're overfolding their blinds. So it gives us an opportunity, especially playing Zoom, to steal those blinds. As you saw, I've been stealing quite a bit. This is a tricky hand. I mean, if it was folded to me, it's on the borderline to steal with. I mean, I'd rather have that suited to the ace. And that's why ring games are really fun to play, because you get so many reads even after 10 hands, even 5 to 10 hands, even to, when you get those reads, it's really fun to play PLO. I mean, Zoom is nice because you do see a lot of hands and you see a lot of action and you get so many different types of hands. But you don't get those the table dynamics, and you don't get solid reads against the players. So sometimes, you're kind of, estimating their ranges based on the general tendencies of the player pool at these stakes. So, and this junky aces, there's nothing suited. 15x. And on this one, we're heads up. I'm going to pot it. Close the pot. Heads up, and it's a nasty, nasty flop for us. And I think I'm going to check back this. We're going to give this pot up. It hit his answer. I mean, I'm ripping aces. And even with the kings, I'm repping aces, and I don't know if he's going to be able to take a read. Yeah, 60 cents. We're gonna fold this. There's just too wet. I mean, you could have set of kings or jacks. You could have queen 10. Geez, so many different cards that would just, even like top two pairs, just have us crush. So we're gonna fold. So another thing to learn: do not overplay aces. It's something that a lot of players in micro stakes do, even at the small stakes. Especially like new players. Like there's like sometimes when I play 100, 200 PLO, I think there are probably solid no limit players who are trying to just test out the waters at PLO, and they buy in for at the 100 PLO stakes, and they tend to overplay aces, and you can kind of tell how they play by overplaying aces and not being able to fold the non-nut flush when someone obviously has a flush. This hand, a lot of people think, oh, geez, you know what? I have a chance to hit a straight draw with a 9, 10, and also with a bottom straight with a 5, 4. Well, with a bottom straight, do you really want a bottom straight? I don't think so because you're going to be dominated by a hard straight. I mean, 9, 10 is fairly decent, but it's just too gappy in the middle, like 6, 7, 8. So we're going to fold out this hand. Another really junky hand, we're going to fold. Do 7, 9, king, double suited. They're going, wow, I have suited to the king. No, it's a very trashy hand. These micro stakes, it's kind of fun. Now you can try a lot of things. I think what I'll do one day is like sometimes what I'll do is I'll open 100% of my hands, and it's a dry. No, it's still a dryish. Let's make it 13. It's a dry flop, and I'm going to definitely bet out to take this one down. Yeah, very unlikely that he has aces. So today's, but there's no connectivity on our other cards, so we're gonna fold that. And remember, at these stakes, don't try to be loose aggressive. I mean, it doesn't work. Loose aggressive will probably lose you more money than make you money. This is now semi-wet flop. I'm gonna check back. Who is this guy? Oh yeah, I'm gonna check back. I'm gonna still check back. Queen is definitely within there. Probably unlikely, but he could have the queen. He's thinking, and I think he tends to be he's from what I've seen, he's probably a passive player. So we got two pair, and we're hoping to see showdown really cheap and take this pot down really cheap too. And we should have it. Perfect. Let's see what he had. You know what? Really junky hands, eh? Like, you shouldn't be calling. Well, if you want to steal, I don't know. This one, we're at the cutoff. It's on the borderline. I wish it was suited to the ace, but you know what? We're going to make an attempt. And what you have to be aware of is if you have any deep stackers who are actually pretty good, they're going to re-raise you almost every single time because they are deep stacked. They do have the SPR, the stack to pot ratio, 2, 3-bet almost like any hand or play any hand. Definitely going to try to steal. And I'm keeping my bet size in small so that if I 3-bet, I can call sometimes, but on these ones I don't think I will. 9-7. I don't think it really hit his range very well. Cook spot. $10. Sorry, 10 cents. I'm gonna call, see what happens. That is a wet 40 cents. The turn made it very wet. Yes. And that's what you have to, that's the thing about reading the boards. I mean, I remember when I first started playing poker, like when they said reading the board, I really didn't understand it. Oh, we got a really beautiful hand here. However, he's under the gun. I'm assuming that they have opening with Broadway, so we're gonna call. And what we mean is like, when we saw, what do we have here in 9? No flush draw, so that kind of sucks. It's a very dry board. We're gonna call any bet. I'm gonna check back too. It's just dry, and we could definitely improve our hand. Oh, no, we didn't. Still a dry board. Flush draw. 6, 7. You know what? 20 cents. So on this previous hand here, the 397 is actually a really dry sport. We didn't hit our opponent's range. But when the 10 pops up, I mean, we have a made straight there. So a very wet flop, wet turn with a flush draw. So it's a type of hand that it's a very wet board. So you're gonna have to bet pretty big. Okay, you don't want to bet small on that kind of board. Okay, because it does hit any. When this calling, say they have like Jack 10 XX, or like say 9 10 Jack Queen, it does hit their range pretty good. Okay, and that's about reading boards. It does take a lot of practice, and I did finish another video, part 4, about wet boards, but I'm having trouble processing it, so it should be out hopefully after this video. Oops. Sorry, that was my phone. This is a hand that I'm gonna definitely call in position against maybe this one player. If someone else calls, I'll fold. It's on the borderline. I mean, if that 8 was say like 9 or a 10, it would have been better. It's on the borderline. I'm going to fold. Remember, when you're playing pot limit pot odds sometimes, say they give you awesome pot odds and you're not sure about your hands, just fold. Nothing wrong with folding in pot limit you'll always have another chance. Okay. So this one, it's a hand that I'm going to definitely raise at the small blind if folded to against the button. I'm going to definitely call. Oh, I don't like this. Yeah, we'll just call. I was hoping he would raise 3x. We did hit a gutter, but you know what? I'm going to just check back. When people limp, I think this can hit anyone's range. So it's just, I'm not going to lead on these boards. Like 3, 3, 4, someone could easily have a 3. Yeah, and we're out of position, so we're going to just check back. We'll give up the pot. I mean, if this guy checked, if I was on the button, I would definitely bet up for, say, maybe 10 cents to take the pot down. But it's, for me, being out of position, if I was in position, that would be worth, oh. See, that's the awesome thing about these micro stakes. No one wants the pot. Wow. Yeah, so that's the thing. When I'm in position, I'm always there to take the pot down. But when I'm out of position, you're placed in such an awkward spot so often. And see, I stole the blinds again. You're put in so many awkward spots when you're out of position that and the money, and there's not too much money in the pot, so it's not really worth risking another 10 cents for that kind of small 14 cents pot. Whereas if it was a little bigger, maybe if it was like 50 BB, that might be worth leading out sometimes, because that was fairly dry board too. But like I said, once people limp in, it's hard to put people on a range. I mean, you can say it's trashy ranges, but what does that really mean, right? So in polynomial, you're dealing with not just 2 cards, you're dealing with 4 cards. So it's really tough sometimes. But after a lot of experience, you kind of get a feeling, based on how they're playing. But when you're out of position, you're not the one with the read. So not that great. We're limping? Yeah, we'll call. It's not a great flop for us, even if he limps, even if he limp. But you know what? We're going to rep the tens. So 10 cents. It's not a great flop because, I mean, someone could have like 7, 8, 9. Like 7, 8 or 8, 9. They have a gutter. Or they may have like 6, I don't know, 6, 9, 8. See, and him. Someone has the boat or a set. Let's see what happens. I'm very curious. Wow, someone has a boat for sure. Maybe quads. I think maybe he's got 10. Wow. What did the other guy have? The other guy had nothing. Smart. What do you have? And then it just had a 4. Wow. That's a very dry flop. 14 cents. Hopefully we take this one down. I'm going to 50 cents. So 5, 6, 7 got there. Pretty close to pot. We're folding. Oh, so this guy, he called with just nothing. He just had a pair of 4s. He was on a flush draw. He just couldn't fold. Huh. Really nasty flop for us. 15 cents, half pot. So calls 3 streets. So see, that's one thing about polynomial. A lot of people are going to call with flush draw. They can't give it up with flush draw. He did have a gutter. Gutter too. And gutter is, no, anytime when you have a gutter, it's actually, everyone underestimates how much equity you have. It gives you additional 10% when you have a gutter, so something good to know. But I'm thinking on a board like that, you gotta fold. I mean, even if you have a straight draw, say they hit a boat like he did, you're drawing dead. The other guy is free rolling, so that's the worst position to be in. We're definitely calling here. We're gonna put him on a very high broadways. I mean, he's early position, but it sucks. We're going multi-ways so bad. And this is actually kind of a wet flop. Someone could have 9s for sure. Flush draw to the nuts. We're gonna fold. Yeah. Okay, let's watch this one too. Yeah, it's a boat. Someone has a boat. And he's been leading us, so yeah, let's go to the next one. Yeah, another interesting thing about poker is like, it really helps to run really well. Actually, this hits us pretty good. I'm gonna bet, it's kind of semi-wet board, so I'm gonna bet 25 cents. We do have a gutter and open ender. Yeah, everyone underestimates how important running good is. Like a lot of people, when they run good, they think it's their skill. I mean, if you do have some solid fundamentals and you know some basic math in poker, running good will help you win a lot of money. But no matter how good you are, okay, this is actually a great board. We're going to lead out. We're going to call any re-raise too. If they re-raise, they probably have the... Oh, that wasn't really good. But I don't really play too scared. 30 cents. If he re-raises us, oh, there we go. See? Even if a scary card comes out, what you think is a scary card, you shouldn't be, because the other person probably just as scared as you are. So I wouldn't, just keep barreling. Like, a lot of people underestimate the power of second barrels. Okay, aces. If he calls, we're gonna fold. Yeah. Got kings, because any kings will call that too. So we'll raise double suited aces, very good, but our sidecars are utter crap. And we have a really nasty flop. So we're gonna check back. Well, yeah, we're gonna check back. We're gonna definitely bet out, pretty big. It's so wet here. Yeah, I'll say 40 cents. And as you realize, and again, the habit of doing that, you see a wet board or a board, I mean, a card that makes the turn very wet, you're gonna bet big, okay? This one, 6-5, it's not that bad, but obviously we had a 10 instead of a 5. Deep stacked. I'm gonna fold. I was on the borderline of raising to steal, but we folded. Crappy card. A lot of people think of that Jack Queen. Wow, you know, I could get top two pair. I don't think so. I like this hand. We do have this dangler, but I'm gonna open raise on this one. I mean, if you get 3-bet here, I'm gonna fold. But see, this is a nasty thing about 5 PLO and these micro stakes. There's so many people who are calling. Oh, and we just have the nuts. And we do have the flush draw. I mean, although it's not to the nuts, on the flush draw, I mean, like what we have is like the 13 combo wrap here with a Jack 10 Queen, and we're gonna have to bet big because it is a wet flop. And what I do if I get re-raised, I'll call. And like what you have to dismiss is, you know, that when you're playing no limit, you just want to bet small or check back to keep the worst cards in and the what is it? Worst cards in the hand. You can't think like that in Parliament or Omaha because they're going to outdraw you, and you never want to give anyone a free card when you do have the nuts. You always want to bet. And we're going to fold this. I mean, we've had some interesting, I guess right now this Zoom session is all about post-flop, like, you know, focusing on how to read the flop and kind of estimating our opponent's range, and that's what my post-flop PLO has been all about. And thus I'm using here at 5 PLO also. I mean, like, I'm still explaining, you know, what hand is good. We're never limp calling on this one. I'm always stating, you know, what hands are good, what hands are bad pre-flop, but we're definitely reading the, oh man, another bad bet flop, but we got a bet 35, and if he re-raises, we're going to fold. Okay. See, even if you think that there's a possible, kings out there, or in this like a very wet board, and you think you're still good, you still have, I mean, like aces, you still have to bet out on those kind of hands heads up, okay? Sorry. I'll fold that out. So what we're gonna do is, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set out the next big blind, and we're gonna call it quits. And it's been pretty fun. Ooh, middle position. Ooh, dangler. Okay, we'll open raise, and we fold them out. That was a borderline. Like I'm not too crazy about opening with just tens. But it was suited to the jack, so there's a possibility of hitting the flop pretty decently. The dangler really sucked though. So that ends this session, and I'll talk to you guys on, well, I guess after this video you'll see my post-flop part 4, where we talk more on wet flops, and I hope it really helps. And remember again, always focus on your strong starting hands at these micro stakes. Never open loose. I have to emphasize it over and over again at 2, 5, 10 PLO. Do not open loose at early position, which means under the gun and middle position, and at the small blind and big blind. You want to have a very strong range, and the only place you want to really open up is on the button. Cutoff, it depends on what the button's like. If the button's a very tight player, you can open up quite a little bit, but on the button is where you want to open like a lot of hands and call a lot of hands if you can, if you have decent starting hands, and try to keep the pot small pre-flop and try to play more on the post-flop, and learn to read those dry and wet flops, and learning to see what kind of cards makes the board wet and dry, and based on the wetness or the dryness of the board, you can determine your bet sizing. So the wetter the board, the bigger the bet size. The drier the board, the smaller the bet size. And by smallness, I don't mean less than half pot size. What I mean is between half to 2/3 pot size bet. And when we're betting on the wet board, something close to pot size bet. At minimum, maybe 85–80%. So thank you again, and this is Simon for Grinder School or Uboat 888. I'll talk